Hi, this is Mighty CS Man. I have a complete curriculum on using the Building Java Programs book and the Practice It website to teach Introduction to Java Programming. This problem is from Chapter 6, which is about file input and output, and this exercise 5 is to collapse the spaces in this input file here. This problem is fairly similar to the previous problem, exercise 6.4, which I have another video for. If you haven't already watched that, you probably should, because the overall structure of this problem is going to be the same. So let's look at the specs for this problem. It accepts a scanner, and it writes that file's text to the console with multiple spaces or tabs reduced to single spaces. So when we hear that multiple spaces or tabs reduced to single spaces, we should be thinking token scanning, okay? Token scanning means we don't care about the spaces, we just care about the tokens that are separated by spaces, okay? So we're just going to get for, and we're just going to get score, and we're just going to get and, okay? So that part tells us that we're probably going to be looking for using the scanner and using next. But there is a little catch, and that is each word is to appear on the same line in the output as it appears in the file. Notice lines can be blank. So here we've got a blank line, and here it preserves the blank line. This program would be very simple if we didn't have to worry about that, because then we could just write a loop to check whether we have has next, and if it does, we just get the next string and we just print it with a space. But in this case, we can't do that because we need to actually detect these blank lines. So what tools do you have available to detect the blank lines? So you should think back to just the previous problem, 6.4, and in the book, chapter 6.3 teaches you about line-based processing. So that tells us that really what we're going to have to do here, let me insert the header, we're going to need to have a while loop, and this is going to be next line exists. So while there's a next line exists, we're going to be get the next line, and then inside here we're going to have again while, and now we're going to need token exists in line. Then we're going to actually do the processing here. So this is the line-based processing. Section 6.3. All right, so I think I need another close brace in here. So this closes the while. So well, actually closes the while next line. Here we're going to have to actually print a blank line, right? Because if we don't print the blank line, then it's not gonna print those things out. Now in here we're going to be printing words, okay? But I want you to think about how the words are going to be printed here, because we've got for space score space and, okay? So what that tells you is that we've actually got a fence post problem. Right? We've got only print space between words, right? So that means we're going to have to use a loop and a half solution. So that means we're going to need to do a half loop of printing the first word, and then we're going to be printing space and then the next word. I should go back and say that you need to get a, you have to create a new scanner based on the line, right? So you can't use the same scanner that you took in here because that's got the entire file. You use that scanner to get a line, and then you have to create a new scanner based on the line to be able to scan the tokens. All right, so but back to the fence post problem. So in general, in the fence post problem, you're going to have to do a half loop and then a whole loop. And so to do the half loop, you're going to read the first word in line, and then the whole loop in here, you're going to reverse the order. So that means instead of printing the space, the word, and then the space, you're going to print space and then followed by word. Now there is another small problem here in that if you go ahead and you read this first word in the line, it's possible there is no word to read in the line. So you actually need to do some error handling here and check to make sure there is a word to read in the line. But other than that, this pretty much gives you the form of how the problem works. Let's take a look again at what the problem was about and how to figure out these kind of problems. So the problem is a file input-output. That's pretty obvious given the chapter. The problem is line-based processing. How do we know it's line-based processing versus token-based processing? So line-based processing is because we need to preserve blank lines. We care about whether there's a blank line. Okay, if we didn't care about whether there was a blank line, we could just use token-based processing and just use next to get us the next, and just print them all out. But it's line-based processing because we've got the blank lines. Okay, so that's one important thing. How do you identify line-based processing? Another problem is going back to the fence post problems and loop and a half of the last chapter. And how do you identify that? By now it should be pretty obvious that whenever you have n items separated by n-1 separators, you're going to need a fence post where you're going to print the half loop first, and then after that you're going to print space and then the word, space and then the word. Okay, so that's so that at the end you'll just have a word and not a space. So that uses the fence post in here. It's a little bit of error handling you need to worry about, and you got to make sure you print the blank line at the end, but that's should be enough to get you through 6.5. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have, please like and subscribe. I have a complete curriculum on all the chapters of Building Java Program and Introduction to Java Programming, including a lot of these practice it problems. So thank you very much. Like and subscribe.